Thomas Reeves first learned about consequences at the age of 12, as he watched his father sell their home to pay off gambling debts. That night, he sat on the curb outside their Pittsburgh row house, his mother's quiet sobs mingling with the distant wail of sirens. "It won't happen to me," he muttered, gripping his toolkit, the only birthday gift he had received that year. His father had imparted one valuable lesson. Trust had to be earned, and once broken, it turned to ash. 26 years later, Thomas stood in his office at Hydrotech Manufacturing, examining blueprints for their latest industrial pump design. His calloused fingers traced the precise lines he had drawn, each calculation double-checked, each measurement verified. The same attention to detail that had earned him a full scholarship to Carnegie Mellon now made him one of Hydrotech's most valued engineers. Mr. Reeves, his assistant, Sarah, called from the doorframe. "Your wife called. She mentioned dinner with the Coopers tonight." Thomas checked his watch. 6:45 p.m. "Tell her I'll be home by 7:30. She specifically said 7 o'clock. 7:30. He replied, his tone leaving no room for discussion. The prototype needed testing, and he would not rush quality work for another of Jessica's social obligations. The drive home gave Thomas time to reflect on his marriage to Jessica Cooper. They had met during their sophomore year, when he fixed her car in the university parking lot. She had stood there in designer boots, watching him work with a mixture of curiosity and something else. Calculation, though he had not recognized it then. "You're different," she said, twirling her keys. "Most guys try to impress me with their father's money. You just fixed it." Rachel Turner, his best friend since freshman year, had seen through Jessica immediately. They had, in Rachel's cramped office, where she conducted her work as a psychology student, they argued about it. "She's using you, Thomas," Rachel insisted. "I've observed how she operates, the way she networks, the way she cultivates relationships. You're her ticket to appearing charitable while preserving her social standing." Thomas defended Jessica with fierce conviction. "You don't know her like I do. She chose me over the trust fund kid." Rachel's dark eyes softened with concern. Did she? Or did she perceive something the rest of us overlooked? He had stormed out then, convinced Rachel was merely jealous. Now, as he pulled into his driveway, Thomas recalled that conversation with uncomfortable clarity. The Cooper family gathering buzzed with its usual air of pretension. Robert Cooper, Jessica's uncle and the family patriarch, held court in the living room of his mansion, discussing real estate developments with his customary circle of sycophants. Thomas observed them quietly. Robert beckoned him over. "Tell James about that new industrial park project. He's exploring investment opportunities." James Whitaker stood with practiced ease, his tailored suit and immaculate hair signaling old money. He had been Jessica's mentor at Cooper Real Estate for years, though Thomas had always sensed something unsettling about their dynamic. "Industrial development isn't particularly glamorous," Thomas remarked, noting how Jessica gravitated toward their conversation. "It's about functionality, not flash." "Nonsense," James smiled. "Jessica tells me you're brilliant at what you do. We should discuss opportunities over golf sometime." Thomas did not play golf. "I prefer working with my hands," he replied. Later that evening, he found Jessica in their bedroom, removing her expensive jewelry. "You could try harder with James," she said. "He could open doors for us." "I open my own doors," Thomas responded, loosening his tie. "And I don't trust men who smile while they undermine you." Jessica sighed. "Not everyone is like your father, Thomas. Sometimes, people genuinely want to help." The argument that followed was a familiar one, Jessica advocating for more networking, more social climbing, more compromise. Holding firm to his principles and his independence, 3 years into their marriage, Michael's birth changed everything. Thomas sat in the hospital room, holding his son, overwhelming love warring with a nagging doubt he could not place. "He has your determination," Jessica said, watching them, but her voice held a note of tension that Thomas would only understand years later. Rachel visited them in the hospital, her psychiatrist training evident in how she observed their family dynamic. "Congratulations," she said, but her smile did not quite reach her eyes when she looked at Jessica. "Want to hold him?" Thomas offered. Rachel cradled Michael carefully. "He is beautiful," she said softly. "He deserves nothing but truth and love in his life." Jessica's hand twitched on the blanket. What an odd thing to say. As Michael grew, Thomas threw himself into fatherhood with the same dedication he brought to engineering. He taught Michael about tools, about problem solving, about integrity. If sometimes he noticed his son's features did not quite match his own, he buried the thought deep beneath his love for the boy. "Daddy, why do people lie?" 7-year-old Michael asked one day in the garage, watching Thomas repair their lawnmower. Thomas set down his wrench. "Sometimes people lie because they are afraid of consequences. But lies always have consequences of their own. Is that why you never lie?" "That is right," Thomas said, ruffling Michael's hair, so different from his own. "Truth is like engineering. If you cut corners, something always breaks." Mary and Phillips, their elderly neighbors, often watched Michael when both parents worked late. Her house smelled of fresh cooking and old paper. She journaled constantly, recording neighborhood life with meticulous detail. "Your boy is growing so fast," she told Thomas one evening. "Reminds me of someone, though I cannot quite place it." Her eyes held knowledge she was not ready to share. Jessica's sister, Amanda, began appearing at Thomas's office unannounced. As Michael grew into his teenage years, Amanda's visits became more frequent, though increasingly awkward. She would linger hesitantly beside his desk, starting conversations she never completed. "Jessica talks about you all the time," she might say, then bite her lip and add, "about how lucky she is." During one such encounter, Thomas gently prompted her to continue. Amanda clutched her purse tightly and murmured, Sometimes the truth hurts more than lies." With that, she hurried away, leaving Thomas to ponder her cryptic words. The earliest indications of Michael's illness emerged subtly. A stumble here, unusual fatigue there. Recognizing these signs, Thomas arranged an appointment with their family physician, Dr. Andrea Morrison. "Has there been any family history of neurological disorders?" Dr. Morrison inquired as she observed Michael performing coordination tests. "None that I'm aware of," Thomas replied. Dr. Morrison made a note and said, "I'd like to refer you to Dr. Benjamin Walsh. He specializes in genetic conditions." Thomas recognized the name. Dr. Walsh's professional reputation was well known, as was the tragic story of his own son's death from a genetic disorder. The referral triggered alarm in Thomas's methodical mind. Over the following weeks, a series of medical tests unfolded, each one heightening Thomas's anxiety. He immersed himself in research, studying genetic disorders with the same focused intensity he applied to engineering challenges. Meanwhile, Jessica's behavior grew increasingly unpredictable. She missed appointments, offered vague excuses, and spent more time at work with her colleague James Whitaker. Thomas noted each inconsistency and evasion, cataloging them like specifications for a project he was not yet prepared to construct. The genetic test results arrived on a rainy Tuesday. Dr. Walsh's office felt stiflingly small and warm as he delivered the impossible news. Michael's condition was linked to a Y chromosome disorder, one that could not have originated from Thomas. "There must be a mistake," Thomas said, his voice steady despite the roaring in his ears. Dr. Walsh slid the test results across the desk. "We ran the tests 3 times, Mr. Rees. The genetic marker is not present in your DNA. It would not have been possible for you to pass this condition to Michael." For 15 years, he had stared at the paper, the overlooked clues suddenly snapping into focus. Jessica's late nights with James, Michael's features that never quite matched his own, Amanda's guilty visits, Mary and's knowing looks. "Does my wife have access to these results?" "Not yet." As the father, Dr. Walsh paused, realizing his mistake. "As Michael's legal father, you have first access." Thomas folded the results carefully, tucking them into his jacket pocket. "Thank you, doctor. I'll handle this appropriately." He walked to his car, each step measured, each breath controlled. The engineer in him began constructing a new project, one with precise tolerances and devastating output. By the time he reached home, the foundation was already laid. Jessica was working late again. Thomas sat in his home office, phone in hand, and made 2 calls. The first was to Richard Thorne, a private investigator recommended by Rachel. The second was to Rachel herself. "I need your professional opinion," he told her. "How does a man dismantle a lie that's lasted 15 years? Rachel's voice held no surprise, only support. "One piece at a time, Thomas. And this time, listen to my warnings." Thomas hung up and opened his laptop. In the darkness of his office, he began documenting everything. Dates, Inconsistencies, suspicious patterns. Each entry was another nail in the coffin of his marriage. Each revelation fed a cold fury that would soon reshape lives. The truth about consequences was about to come full circle. Chapter 2. Tremors. Dr. Andrea Morrison prided herself on attention to detail. 20 years of family practice had taught her to spot patterns others missed. Watching 14-year-old Michael Reeves struggle with simple coordination tests sent warning signals through her professional intuition. "Try touching your nose again," she instructed, noting how his finger wavered off course. Michael complied, his frustrated expression revealing he knew something was wrong. "Mom says I'm just clumsy," Michael offered, but his eyes held worry. Beyond his ears, Dr. Morrison made another notation in Michael's file. "Michael, would you mind waiting outside while I speak with your father?" Once Michael had left the room, she turned to Thomas Reeves. His steady gaze reminded her of steel, unyielding, reliable. "Mr. Reeves, I'm concerned about Michael's symptoms. The coordination issues, combined with the fatigue he's experiencing. I'd like to refer him to a specialist. Do you have someone in mind?" Thomas's voice remained calm, but his fingers tightened on the armrest of his chair. "Dr. Benjamin Walsh. He's the best geneticist in the state." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "He has personal experience with similar cases." Thomas absorbed this information with the same methodical focus he brought to everything. "You suspect a genetic condition? We need to rule it out." She handed him Dr. Walsh's card. His son had a similar presentation of symptoms. It makes him particularly thorough in these cases. After they left, Dr. Morrison sat in her office, reviewing Michael's history. Something nagged at her medical instincts, subtle inconsistencies in the family medical history she had gathered over the years. She made a note to send Dr. Walsh the complete file. Across town, Marianne Phillips added another entry to her journal. At 78, journaling helped keep her mind sharp after Harold's death. Today's entry concerned the Reeves family. Michael Holmes sick again. Jessica's car absent overnight, third time this month. Black Mercedes parked 2 blocks down from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. same plate as previous instances. Thomas worked late in garage. Light on until 3 a.m. Boy doesn't look right. Reminds me of James Whitaker when he visits Jessica during Thomas's business trips. Marianne closed her journal, adding it to the stack that documented 15 years of neighborhood activity. Harold had called her nosy. She preferred observant. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Amanda Cooper stood there, wringing her hands, a nervous expression on her face. It was a habit she had possessed since childhood. "Thomas home?" Amanda inquired, peering past Mary toward the Reeves house. "At work, dear." "Like always," Marianne replied, studying the younger woman's anxious expression. "Would you like some tea?" Amanda followed her into the kitchen, perching on a chair like a bird poised for flight. "I keep trying to talk to him about Jessica, about everything, but the words won't come." Marianne poured tea into Harold's old cups. "Truths like that sometimes sit heavy on the tongue. I should have told him years ago." Amanda's voice cracked when I first found out. "But Jessica said it would destroy Michael's life." "That Thomas would what, dear? Leave them with nothing, like his father left him." Amanda stared into her tea. "But watching Michael get sick, knowing the medical history they're missing." Marianne gently patted Amanda's hand. "Truth finds its way out, dear, like water through cracks." At that moment, Dr. Benjamin Walsh reviewed Michael's file in his office. Photographs of his own son, lost to a similar genetic condition, watched from his desk. The similarities in symptoms sent a chill through his professional detachment. His nurse knocked softly. "Dr. Walsh, Mr. Reeves is here with Michael." The consultation proceeded according to protocol: medical history, family background, physical examination. Dr. Walsh noted Thomas's careful answers, his intense focus on every detail. "We'll need genetic testing," Dr. Walsh explained, "given the pattern of symptoms and family history." "What family history?" Thomas interrupted. "I provided our complete medical records." Dr. Walsh reviewed his notes. "Yes, but sometimes these conditions can skip generations or present differently in carriers. A full genetic panel will give us the clearest picture." As they scheduled the tests, Dr. Walsh observed Thomas's interaction with Michael. The boy clearly adored his father, yet something in their physical features didn't align, the kind of detail medical training taught doctors to notice. That week, Amanda made another attempt to visit Thomas at Hydrotech. She paced outside his office, rehearsing speeches that died before reaching her lips. "Can I help you?" Thomas's assistant, Sarah, asked. "I need to tell him." Amanda twisted her ring. "About Jessica and James. About Michael's real. What?" Thomas stood in his doorway, suit jacket draped over his arm. Amanda froze. "Sometimes the truth hurts more than lies," she whispered, then fled down the hallway. Thomas watched her go, adding another piece to the puzzle he didn't yet know he was solving. That evening, he found himself studying old family photos with engineering precision, noting details he'd overlooked for years. The genetic test results arrived with the weight of inevitability. Dr. Walsh's face held the gravity of someone who had delivered this kind of news before, both as a doctor and as a father. "The condition is Y chromosome linked," he explained, sliding the results across his desk. "Passed from father to son." Thomas read the report, his expression unchanging. "But I'm not the carrier?" "No," Dr. Walsh met his gaze. "The marker isn't present in your DNA. Scientifically speaking, it's impossible for you to have passed this condition to Michael." Thomas folded the results with precise movements. "Who has access to this information?" "As of now, only this office." "Patient confidentiality." "Maintain that confidentiality, doctor." Thomas stood. "I'll handle the necessary discussions with my family." He walked out of the office, each step calculated, each breath measured. In his car, he pulled out his phone and made a call. "Richard Thorne Investigations." "Mr. Thorne, I need your services, particularly those of your daughter, Sophia. I understand she specializes in digital forensics." "She does. May I ask the nature of the investigation?" Thomas gripped his steering wheel. 15 years of lies need uncovering. Emails, photos, messages, everything between my wife and James Whitaker. That's extensive. So is my budget. Thomas started his car. "I want everything. Everything, and Mr. Thorne, time is a factor. My son's health depends on accessing his true medical history." That evening, Thomas sat in his garage, surrounded by tools that made sense, machines that followed rules. His phone buzzed. Rachel's voice came through, direct and without preamble. "Amanda came to my office. She said she's carrying a heavy burden." "Thomas, she's had 15 years to unload it," Rachel continued. "People get trapped in lies. The longer they wait, the harder it becomes to find a way out." Thomas picked up a wrench, testing its weight. "I'm about to make it very easy for them, Rachel. Everything's about to change." "What are you planning?" she asked. "Justice," he said, setting the wrench down. "Pure and simple." Chapter 3. The fracture. The hospital corridor stretched before Thomas like a path to execution. He stood by Michael's window, watching his son, no, not his son, sleep peacefully, unaware of the storm about to break. Richard Thorne's daughter, Sophia, had delivered results faster than expected. Thomas held his phone, scrolling through 15 years of betrayal documented in emails, photos, and messages between Jessica and James Whitaker. Their digital trail painted a picture of calculated deception that made his blood run cold. "I love how he works overtime for our family vacations," Jessica had written to James, "while we get our private getaways." Another message from James read, "Michael has your eyes, darling. Thomas is too busy with his precious machines to notice." Thomas's grip tightened on his phone as he read through years of mockery, secret meetings, and shared jokes at his expense. The timestamps aligned perfectly with Marianne Phillips's detailed journals. Every late-night visit, every suspicious car, every unexplained absence documented by his observant neighbor. The elevator chimed, pulling Thomas from his dark thoughts. Karen Cooper's heels clicked against the linoleum as she stormed toward him, her face contorted with self-righteous fury. Several nurses turned to stare as she approached. "You monster!" Karen grabbed his collar, spittle flying from her lips. "How dare you?" flew from her lips. "How could you deny your own blood, throwing away 15 years of marriage?" Thomas remained perfectly still, his voice carrying the cold of a surgeon's blade. "Read it." He pulled the medical report from his pocket, his movements deliberate and controlled. Karen's hands shook as she snatched the document. Her eyes darted across the page, color draining from her face as the implications sank in. She looked up, her gaze automatically seeking James Whitaker, who hovered anxiously near the nurse's station. In that moment, everything clicked into place. The resemblance between James and Michael stood out like a blueprint finally brought into focus. The same nose, the same chin, even the same nervous gesture of running fingers through their hair. "Oh, God," Karen whispered, stumbling backward. "Jessica, she didn't." 15 years, Thomas said softly, each word precise and measured. 15 years of lies. 15 years of watching my wife and her lover laugh behind my back. 15 years of raising another man's child while being mocked for my dedication. Thomas, Karen's righteous anger had dissolved into horror. "I didn't know." "No." His laugh held no humor. "Tell me, Karen, all those family dinners, all those gatherings, did Jessica and James think they were being subtle? Or did you all just enjoy watching the fool who trusted his wife?" James took a hesitant step forward, but Thomas's cold stare froze him in place. "Think carefully before you speak," Thomas warned. "Your wife doesn't know yet, but she will. Everyone will. Please," James's voice cracked. "We can discuss this privately." "Privacy." Thomas's voice carried down the corridor. "Like the privacy you and Jessica maintained while destroying my life. The privacy you used to hide medical information that could have helped diagnose Michael sooner." A nurse approached cautiously. "Sir, this is a hospital." "Yes, it is." Thomas straightened his tie. "A place of healing. But some wounds can't be healed. They can only be." He turned to Karen, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Tell Jessica I know everything. Tell her to prepare herself, because what is coming will make these medical results look like a paper cut." Karen backed away, clutching the test results to her chest. "What are you going to do?" Thomas smiled, his expression devoid of warmth. "I'm going to do what I do best, take something apart, piece by piece, until nothing remains but the truth." He looked through the window at Michael's sleeping form. "I trusted Jessica with everything, my love, my name, my future. Now she will learn what happens when that trust is betrayed." He walked away, leaving Karen and James standing in the corridor, the weight of 15 years of deception finally crashing down around them. The nurses whispered among themselves, already ensuring this drama would spread through the hospital grapevine. Thomas stepped into the elevator. His reflection in the polished doors showed a man transformed. The trusting husband had died in Dr. W's office. What remained was something else, something forged in betrayal and tempered by rage. His phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "Are you okay?" "No," he replied simply. "But I will be when this is finished. When they've lost everything, like I have. Then maybe I will be okay." The elevator doors closed on Act 1, sealing Thomas's transformation from victim to architect of destruction. The foundation of lies had cracked, and the entire structure was about to come crashing down. Chapter 4. Calculated moves. Diana Whitaker's law office projected power. Thomas sat across from her desk, watching James's wife of 20 years examine the evidence he had brought. Her manicured nails clicked against her tablet as she swiped through years of betrayal. 20 years of marriage, Diana said, her voice carrying the precision of a practiced litigator. 2 children in private universities, a reputation built on family values. She set down the tablet. And all this time, he had another son. "Will you help me?" Thomas asked Diana. She removed her glasses. "Mr. Reeves, I have spent 2 decades defending corporate clients while my husband built his practice on a foundation of lies. You have given me everything I need to destroy him." She smiled, all teeth and no mercy. "The question is, how much damage do you want to inflict?" "Total." Thomas leaned forward. "I want them to lose everything they value: pride, status, power. Your wife's family has significant influence in this city. Then we will take that too." Diana nodded, appreciating his resolve. "What about the boy, Michael?" "I have already instructed my lawyer." Thomas's voice remained steady. "I am refusing custody." Diana's eyebrows rose. "That is unexpected. I will pay for his medical care. He is innocent in this. But I will not pretend anymore. Let James and Jessica deal with the consequences of their choices. They will call you heartless. They already think I am a fool. I prefer heartless." Later that day, Thomas met with Rachel Turner in her office. She had cleared her schedule when he called, recognizing the tension in his voice. "Refusing custody is a big step," Rachel said, watching him pace. "Are you sure? Michael needs medical treatment. He will get it. But I will not play the devoted father while they laugh behind my back." Thomas stopped moving. "Did you know there is a shared digital vault? Years of messages, photos, videos, all documenting their affair. Rachel leaned forward. What are you planning? The truth hurts more than lies. Thomas quoted Amanda's words. Time to prove it. Sophia Thorne's expertise proved invaluable. She sat in her father's office, showing Thomas how to access the digital trail of betrayal. The security was decent, she said, fingers flying across her keyboard. But they got sloppy, arrogant. Left breadcrumbs everywhere. Richard Thorne watched from the doorway. We found something interesting in James's private emails. He has been pushing to get Thomas involved in real estate investments, setting me up as a mark. Thomas nodded. While sleeping, with my wife and raising my son, Michael, Sophia pulled up a folder. What do you want to do with all this? Thomas examined the screen. Photos of Jessica and James together, spanning 15 years. Messages mocking his trust. Plans made while he worked overtime. Release it strategically, starting with James's parents. They are conservative, Richard noted. Old money, old values. Exactly, Thomas stood. Send them the photos from before Michael's birth first. Let them see how long this betrayal has lasted. The first strike landed with precision. George and Eleanor Whitaker received an anonymous envelope containing photos of their son with Jessica, dated months before Michael's birth. The timestamps matched hospital records showing James had attended prenatal appointments while Thomas worked. James's phone exploded with notifications. His father's message carried decades of disappointment. You dishonored everything we taught you. That boy is our grandson, and you let another man raise him. Thomas watched the chaos unfold through Sophia's surveillance. James called Jessica in a panic. My parents know. His voice cracked over the recorded line. They're threatening to cut me off. How? Jessica's fear bled through. Thomas couldn't. Someone sent photos from before Michael was born. They're talking about changing their will. Thomas forwarded the recording to Diana. Her response came quickly. Perfect timing. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. This will destroy his claims about family values. The next phase began while Thomas worked late at Hydrotech. More evidence emerged. Loving messages exchanged during family vacations, hotel receipts from business trips that never happened. Each revelation was calculated to strip away another layer of their carefully constructed lies. You've thought this through, Rachel observed during their next session. I learned from Jessica, Thomas replied. She spent 15 years building her perfect life on my trust. I'll spend 15 minutes burning it down. With truth, his phone buzzed. Sophia had accessed more messages. Thomas read them with cold satisfaction. Jessica, he's working late again. Come over. James, what about Michael? Jessica, at a friend's. Thomas thinks I'm at yoga. He never questions anything. Thomas forwarded the exchange to Diana. More ammunition, he wrote. Diana's reply came swiftly. James just tried to claim our marriage was perfect until recently. This proves 15 years of premeditation. His lawyer is sweating. That evening, Thomas received an unexpected call from Amanda. They're panicking, she said without preamble. Jessica is trying to figure out how you got the photos. Are you ready to tell the truth? A pause. I've carried this secret for so long. Then let it go. Let them face what they've done. Amanda's voice strengthened. Yes, I'm ready. Thomas hung up and opened his laptop. Phase 1 was complete. The foundation of their lives showed cracks. Time for Phase 2. Mr. Reeves, his assistant, Sarah, appeared at his door. Mrs. Whitaker, Diana Whitaker, is here. Diana strode in, legal papers in hand. James is trying to block access to his medical records, records that would prove he knew about Michael's genetic condition. Thomas didn't look up from his work. Send the proof to Dr. Walsh. Let him decide how to handle a doctor hiding crucial medical information that could end his career. Yes. Thomas met her gaze. It could. Chapter 5. The chess game professional reputations take years to build. Thomas knew this from engineering. One failed project, one miscalculation, could erase decades of success. Now, he applied this principle to destruction. The actors arrived at Cooper Real Estate precisely at noon. Their performance, drawn from Jess and James's own messages, played out in the plaza where business lunches usually happened. My husband's working late again, the actress called out, her voice carrying to the gathered crowd. Earning money for our vacations while we plan our own getaway. Smartphones recorded everything. Social media buzzed with the unfolding drama. From her office window, Jessica watched, her face ashen as her own words returned to haunt her. Thomas observed the scene through the security feed Sophia had accessed, while Diana stood beside him, admiring the execution. Street theater, she mused. Creative. They wrote the script themselves. I'm merely providing the stage. The performance then shifted to James's medical practice. Different actors, yet the same damning words. His carefully cultivated professional image fractured as patients witnessed scenes from his affair performed in public. You can't do this. James's lawyer sputtered over the phone. Do what? Thomas replied calmly. These are public spaces. The words are all documented. Your client wrote them himself. Diana's legal connections proved devastating. Judge Catherine Martinez, who had known Diana for 20 years, ensured Jessica's infidelity became part of the public record. Evidence mounted within courthouse documents, accessible to anyone who cared to look. During a preliminary hearing, Judge Martinez addressed Jessica directly. Mrs. Cooper, these messages indicate a deliberate pattern of deception spanning 15 years, including withholding medical information from your son's legal father. When Jessica's lawyer attempted to object, the judge cut him off. The evidence has been properly submitted, and it is rather damning. The real estate community buzzed with gossip. Robert Cooper's influence could not halt the whispers, the sidelong glances, or the canceled meetings. His niece's scandal threatened decades of carefully nurtured business relationships. Fix this, he demanded, confronting Jessica in his office. Thomas is destroying our reputation. I'm trying, Jessica replied, her composure cracking. But he has everything. Photos, messages, proof of James's lies about Michael's health. Then he has proof of your lies, too, Robert said, his face hardening. Get out of my office, and don't come back until you've contained this mess. Meanwhile, the elder Whitakers learned the full extent of their grandson's existence during their 50th wedding anniversary celebration. Thomas's timing was deliberate. 500 guests witnessed James's humiliation as George Whitaker raised his glass. His voice, carrying authority earned over decades, rang out. Not to honor 50 years of marriage, but to speak the truth. To learning, he declared, that my son not only committed adultery, but denied his own child proper medical care to conceal his sins. James stood frozen as his father continued. Therefore, Eleanor and I are amending our will. Our grandson, Michael, will receive his father's share of our estate, to be held in trust for his medical needs. As for you, James, George's voice hardened. You are no longer welcome in this family. The silence that followed felt absolute. Then, whispers began, spreading through Pittsburgh's elite like wildfire. James fled the ballroom, his reputation in tatters. Thomas received the news through Diana's text. It's done. James is disinherited. The trust will ensure Michael's care without giving James or Jessica control. He forwarded the message to Rachel. Her reply came quickly. How does it feel? Like watching a machine I built work perfectly, he responded. Diana's legal strategy proved relentless. Each court filing revealed more damaging evidence. Jessica's attempts to maintain her social standing crumbled as former friends distanced themselves. They're running out of allies, Sophia reported, monitoring their communications. James tried to access their digital vault, but I've locked them out. Everything they wrote, everything they documented, it's all under your control now. Thomas nodded. Keep monitoring. Phase 3 begins soon. Rachel's concern surfaced during their next session. The revenge is consuming you. No, Thomas corrected her. It's focusing me. Each move planned, each consequence calculated. They spent 15 years building a life on lies. I'm spending 15 days dismantling it with truth. His phone buzzed. Amanda was requesting a meeting. He found her in a quiet cafe, hands wrapped around an untouched coffee. I recorded everything, she said without hesitation. For years, Jessica had laid her plans and executed her manipulations. Amanda swallowed hard, recalling how Jessica had laughed about her trust, calling it her greatest investment. Thomas kept his voice level as he asked, Are you ready to make it public? Yes, Amanda met his gaze firmly. I have protected her lies long enough. Michael deserves better. As Thomas left the cafe, he received another update from Diana. James's partners are calling an emergency meeting. His position at the practice is under review. Good, Thomas checked his watch. Time for the final piece. Chapter 6. Pressure points the invitation to the charity gala listed James Whittaker as the recipient of their humanitarian award. Thomas studied the heavy cardstock, appreciating the irony. It was time to shatter another carefully crafted image. The documentary is ready, Sophia confirmed. Set to play right after the introduction. Thomas had funded the film anonymously, a heartbreaking look at children affected by genetic disorders. Michael's case featured prominently, including damning evidence of James withholding crucial medical history. Soon, the narrator's voice would ask Dr. Whittaker, "How do you explain denying your own son proper medical care to hide an affair?" Patricia Montgomery, the gala's organizer, received an advanced copy. Her horrified call to James came through on the monitored line. "Is this true? Did you know about Michael's condition?" "Patty, I can explain. You're receiving an award for pediatric care advocacy while hiding your own son's medical needs." James's stammered excuses died as she hung up. The award ceremony would proceed. The publicity had already been arranged, but now it would destroy rather than enhance his reputation. Nurse Cynthia Rodriguez proved an unexpected ally. Her conscience had bothered her for months about James and Jessica's attempts to alter Michael's medical records. "They tried to backdate tests," she told Thomas during their meeting, "to make it look like they'd been monitoring the condition. But I kept copies of the original files." He conveyed this information to Diana, and her response was succinct, "Perfect. This triggers mandatory reporting requirements and multiple ethics investigations." The pressure intensified from all directions. James's partners meticulously reviewed his cases, searching for any additional ethical breaches. Meanwhile, Jessica's real estate clients began canceling contracts one by one. Their carefully constructed social walls crumbled, brick by brick, leaving them with dwindling options. Diana reported these developments during their daily briefing, noting that James's attempt to claim ignorance regarding Michael's condition had backfired spectacularly when Dr. Walsh presented the definitive genetic testing timeline. Thomas nodded in acknowledgement as Jessica tried desperately to salvage her reputation by asserting that she had been manipulated, but Amanda's evidence systematically dismantled that defense. The documentary premiered at the charity gala, where James sat rigidly in his chair, trapped by social convention as his deceptions unfolded on screen. The audience's reaction was palpable: gasps, whispers, and phones recording, each moment of his discomfort driving another nail into his professional coffin. "A powerful presentation," Thomas remarked afterward, approaching James for the first time since the hospital incident, adding almost as an afterthought, "Almost as powerful as a father's duty to protect his child." At this, James's facade finally cracked. "I'll lose everything," he confessed. "Yes," Thomas replied, straightening his tie. "You will." The following day, medical board investigators arrived at James's practice. Ethics complaints multiplied as the documentary continued to circulate, prompting his partners to call an emergency meeting. "It's over," Diana texted succinctly. "The practice is cutting ties. His hospital privileges are under review." Thomas forwarded the news to Rachel, who responded, "Are you satisfied?" "Not yet," he replied. "The storm's not finished." Chapter 7. Justice Served Cold. The annual Cooper family reunion buzzed with palpable tension. Crystal glasses clinked as Pittsburgh's elite gathered, feigning normality while watching Jessica Cooper from the corners of their eyes. Her forced smile fooled no one. Amanda Cooper stood by the entrance, her hand steady as she gripped the microphone. Years of guilt had built to this moment. "I need to," she began, her voice resonating with resolve. "Confess something," she announced, her voice slicing through the polite conversation about Jessica and James Whittaker about Michael. Robert Cooper moved to stop her, but Thomas's presence by the door made him hesitate. This was the first time Thomas had appeared at a Cooper family event since the hospital confrontation. "For 15 years, Amanda continued, I helped hide their affair. I made excuses, covered their meetings, watched them deceive Thomas while they laughed about his trust." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jessica grabbed her sister's arm. "Amanda, shut up." "No." Amanda shook her off. "I'm done protecting you. Both of you." She faced the stunned audience. James Whittaker is Michael's biological father. They knew before the birth, but Jessica wanted Thomas's stability, his reputation, his money. Robert Cooper pushed forward. "This is ridiculous. I won't allow." "You knew too, didn't you, Uncle Robert?" Amanda's voice gained strength. You helped arrange their meetings, used company properties for their rendezvous. Diana Whitaker stepped from the shadows, legal papers in hand, including properties involved in confidential development deals. Isn't that right, Mr. Cooper? Robert's face paled. Who are you? James Whitaker's soon-to-be ex-wife, and a corporate lawyer very interested in how my husband obtained insider information about real estate developments through his affair with your niece. Thomas observed from the doorway as the Cooper family's carefully maintained facade cracked, years of deception unraveling in minutes. Diana's voice carried through the shocked silence. We have documentation of at least 12 instances where James used information obtained during encounters with Jessica to gain advantages in real estate deals. The SEC is very interested. You can't prove that, Robert sputtered. Actually, Thomas spoke for the first time, we can. Your own security systems recorded their meetings. Your property's access logs confirmed their timing, and James's subsequent business decisions aligned perfectly with Jessica's uncle's teachings. He stared at her with growing horror. What have you done? She did exactly what you taught her, Thomas answered. Used people, made connections. The only difference is she got caught. Multiple ethics investigations hit simultaneously. Diana's legal strategy proved devastating. Each revelation timed to maximize damage. James's business relationships collapsed as evidence of insider trading emerged. Robert Cooper's attempt to protect his legacy backfired spectacularly. His involvement in facilitating the affair implicated him in the financial improprieties. The family's reputation, built over generations, crumbled in days. Marian Phillips's detailed journey proved crucial during the divorce proceedings. Thomas's legal team presented 15 years of documented patterns, late-night visits, suspicious cars, unexplained absences. Please state your observations from October 12th, 10 years ago, Thomas's lawyer requested. Marianne adjusted her glasses. Jessica Cooper's car was absent from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. A black Mercedes, James Whitaker's car, was parked 2 blocks away. Thomas worked late that night. It was Michael's birthday. Jessica's lawyer objected, but the evidence mounted. Each journal entry matched hotel receipts, credit card statements, and phone records. The scope of the deception stunned even the jaded family court judge. These records are extraordinarily detailed, the judge noted. I had nothing else to do after Harold died, Marianne explained. Just watching, writing, noting patterns. The judge reviewed one particular entry. You recorded Mrs. Cooper saying, and I quote, Thomas is so trusting, it's almost too easy. Do you recall this conversation? Yes, Your Honor. She was talking to her sister Amanda on my front porch. They didn't think I could hear them through my screen door. Jessica's face crumpled as her own words condemned her. Thomas sat unmoved, watching years of manipulation exposed to harsh light. One evening, Rachel found Thomas in his office at Hydrotech. I heard about the court proceeding, she said. Diana says we'll have the final judgment next week. Thomas did not look up from his work. The Cooper family's reputation is destroyed. James faces criminal charges. Jessica, he paused. Jessica has nothing left. And how do you feel about that? Rachel asked. Now he met her gaze. I feel nothing for them. They are just failed calculations now. Variables that did not perform as expected. Chapter 8. Rebuilding the medical trust for Michael came together with cold efficiency. Thomas worked with Diana to ensure the legal framework protected the boys' interests while preventing James or Jessica from accessing the funds. Eleanor Whitaker insists on being involved, Diana reported during a planning session. Fine. Thomas reviewed the documents. As long as she understands I will not play happy families. The money is for Michael's care, nothing more. Eleanor Whitaker herself requested a meeting. She sat across from Thomas in his office, her dignity intact despite her family's disgrace. You are a remarkable man, Mr. Reeves, she said. Most would have abandoned the child completely. Michael is innocent. He deserves proper medical care, but not your presence. Thomas set down his pen. Would you force your love on someone who lied to you for 15 years? He is not the one who lied. No, but he represents their betrayal. I will ensure he is cared for, Mrs. Whitaker. That is all I can offer. Eleanor nodded slowly. I understand more than you might think. She placed a check on his desk. This is my contribution to the trust. Use it well. With the trust established, Thomas focused on processing his emotions through sessions with Rachel. Her office became a space where he could examine the wreckage of his life with clinical detachment. "You have achieved your revenge," Rachel noted during one session. "Jessica and James are ruined. The Coopers are disgraced. What now?" "Now I rebuild, without their lies distorting my vision," Thomas replied. Rachel leaned forward, listening intently. "Looking forward, what do you see clearly now?" "I see who is truly loyal. Those who warned me years ago about Jessica's true nature." His gaze held hers. "They stood by me even when I refused to listen." Their relationship evolved gradually, built on understanding rather than deception. Rachel knew his broken pieces and helped him examine them without flinching. Trust, when it came, felt solid and real. "I won't be like them," Thomas told her one evening during dinner. "No secrets, no manipulation." Rachel's response was simple: "I know." The medical trust proved its worth as Michael's treatment progressed. Thomas reviewed the reports Diana forwarded, tracking the boy's improvement with professional distance. "His latest tests show promise," Dr. Walsh reported during a conference call. "The new treatment protocol is working well." Thomas kept his voice neutral. "Ensure he has whatever he needs." James tried to interfere once, showing up at Thomas's office unannounced. Security removed him within minutes. "He is my son," James had shouted. "You can't keep me from him." Thomas's response cut deep. "I raised your son while you played mentor. Now you can watch from a distance while I ensure he gets proper care." Ironic, isn't it? Chapter 5. New Foundations. 5 years passed. Thomas channeled his engineering expertise into developing medical devices, working closely with Dr. Walsh's research foundation. Their collaboration produced innovations in genetic disorder treatments. "Your designs are revolutionary," Dr. Walsh said, reviewing their latest prototype. "Personal experience does make a difference." "Experience with betrayal," Thomas corrected. "It teaches you to examine everything, to trust nothing without verification." James's final downfall came through medical board hearings. Thomas attended each session, watching his former friend's career crumble piece by piece. Dr. Whitaker demonstrated gross negligence, the board chairman announced. By withholding critical medical history to conceal personal indiscretions, he violated the most basic tenets of medical ethics. The ban from hospital affiliations destroyed what remained of James's practice. Diana's divorce settlement claimed most of his assets. His older children, learning the full truth about their father's deception, cut contact. Jessica's attempts to rebuild failed systematically. She moved to Idaho seeking anonymity, but Amanda's memoir followed her like a curse. Truth and Lies. My Sister's Betrayal became a bestseller. Each chapter stripped away another layer of Jessica's carefully constructed victim narrative. The woman who once moved through Pittsburgh's highest circles now worked as a low-level administrative assistant, her dreams of status permanently shattered. Thomas received a copy of Amanda's book. Inside, she'd written, "I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. Some debts can never be repaid." He donated the book to the local library without reading it. Eleanor Whitaker made periodic attempts to involve Thomas in family events. Each invitation met the same response. "Michael has his trust. He has his care. That's the extent of my involvement." "He asks about you," she tried once. "He has his real father now. Let him ask James about choices and consequences." Thomas found his peace working with Dr. Walsh's foundation, transforming his pain into progress. Rachel moved in with him, their relationship built on years of honest communication. "The foundation wants to honor you at next month's gala," Rachel mentioned one evening. "No." Thomas continued working on his latest design. "The work matters. Recognition doesn't." The invitation to Michael's college graduation arrived via Eleanor. Thomas viewed the ceremony from a distance, watching the boy he'd raised receive his diploma. Michael had grown tall and healthy thanks to proper treatment. He moved with James's confidence, but showed none of his father's arrogance. The medical trust had served its purpose. "Do you regret not being part of his life?" Rachel asked. Later, Thomas contemplated the question. "I regret believing the lies. I regret wasting 15 years on their deception. But maintaining distance from Michael? No. Some bridges, once burned, should remain ashes." The truth of his revenge lay not in the punishment itself, but in its enduring consequences. Each time Jessica served coffee in her Idaho office, each time James passed a hospital he could not enter, Each time the Coopers faced whispers at social events, they confronted the price of their choices. Thomas and Rachel built their life together, free from the weight of deception. He never spoke Jessica's name again, nor responded to James's attempts at contact. The past remained where it belonged, sealed in court documents and medical trust paperwork. The final victory was not in destroying their lives, but in moving forward without them. Thomas's revenge succeeded not because he had taken everything from them, but because they had lost it all through their own exposed lies. In his office at the Research Foundation, Thomas kept one reminder: the wrench he had used to fix Jessica's car during their college meeting. Not for nostalgia, but as a warning. Trust, like metal, can be broken by enough pressure, but unlike metal, once broken, it can never be reforged. Epilogue. 10 years after the reckoning, Dr. Michael Whitaker stood at the podium of Johns Hopkins Medical Center, presenting his research on genetic disorders. At 29, he had become a leading voice in genetic research, driven by his own experience with inherited conditions. Early detection and intervention remain crucial, he explained to the gathered medical professionals. My own case proved that delayed treatment due to hidden medical histories can severely impact patient outcomes. In the audience, Thomas Reeves sat near the back, unnoticed. He attended these presentations periodically, tracking Michael's progress from a distance. The medical trust he had established had funded Michael's education, enabling his achievements. The path to becoming a physician specializing in genetic disorders was the subject of the presentation. After it concluded, Thomas departed discreetly before Michael could notice him. He maintained this pattern of distant observation for years, overseeing and providing support through the trust, yet never engaging directly. His phone vibrated with a message from Rachel. "How was the presentation?" "Excellent. He's doing good work," he replied. Rachel comprehended his complex relationship with Michael. Their 7-year marriage was founded upon that very understanding. No falsehoods, no pretense, and no pressure to alter his stance. Thomas's contributions at the Walsh Research Foundation had revolutionized medical device development. Their most recent initiative, a novel genetic testing protocol, promised accelerated results for diagnosing inherited conditions. Under Thomas's engineering innovations, the foundation had evolved into a major influence within medical research. The new testing protocol launches next month, he informed Rachel during dinner at their home. Preliminary results indicate a 40% improvement in detection speed. Rachel, who now leads her own psychiatric practice with a specialization in trauma recovery, nodded thoughtfully. Any updates from Diana regarding the patent applications? Following her divorce from James, Diana Whitaker had redirected her legal career to focus exclusively on medical technology patents. Her partnership with Thomas had safeguarded dozens of innovations, ensuring they remained accessible to patients while generating essential funding for further research. "She is managing everything," Thomas affirmed, sipping his wine. The Whitaker name still commands respect in legal circles, even though James irrevocably damaged its standing within the medical community. James Whitaker's downfall had been absolute. After the revocation of his medical license, he attempted a career in academia, but his infamy pursued him relentlessly. He now resides in Florida, employed as a sales representative for medical equipment, a bitterly ironic circumstance, given Thomas's achievements in medical device development. His efforts to reach out to Michael had diminished over time, particularly after Michael chose to adopt Diana's surname instead of his own, Jessica's. Life in Idaho had settled into a quiet obscurity. Her job as an administrative assistant at a small insurance firm suited her reduced circumstances. Amanda's memoir, now in its 4th printing, had ensured Jessica couldn't escape her past. Local dating attempts failed whenever potential partners Googled her name. The Cooper family had never recovered their former social status. Robert Cooper's involvement in the scandal had led to multiple SEC investigations. While he avoided jail time, his reputation and business empire crumbled. Cooper Real Estate now operated as a small commercial property management firm, their grand development days long past. Amanda Cooper had channeled her guilt into advocacy work, establishing a foundation supporting children affected by parental deception. Her memoir's royalties funded counseling services for families dealing with similar situations. She and Michael maintained a cautious relationship, both healing from their shared history. Amanda's foundation is doing good work, Rachel mentioned. They've helped hundreds of families navigate similar situations. Thomas nodded. Redemption through action, not words. Marianne Phillips had passed away 2 years earlier, but her detailed journals had become part of a psychological study on infidelity patterns. Her observations spanning decades provided valuable insights into how deception affected communities. Thomas had arranged for her journals to be preserved in the university's research archives. The Thorns, Richard and Sophia, had expanded their investigation firm to specialize in medical fraud cases. Their experience with Thomas's case had revealed a niche market. Sophia's digital forensic skills proved particularly valuable in exposing healthcare deception. Sophia called Rachel, said Thomas. The Foundation's background checks revealed another doctor hiding patient histories. She wants your input on handling the evidence. Thomas's reputation for exposing medical misconduct had grown steadily, becoming a beacon for those seeking truth in the healthcare system. Deception had grown increasingly prevalent in medical settings, prompting hospitals to seek his counsel on preventing similar situations. His account of discovering Michael's true parentage through genetic testing had evolved into a cautionary tale featured in medical ethics curricula. Dr. Benjamin Walsh, though retired from active practice, continued to advise the Foundation. His collaboration with Thomas had enabled countless families to access improved genetic testing and treatments, their partnership rooted in a profound understanding born from personal encounters with medical deception. Eleanor Whitaker remained involved with Michael's trust until her passing 3 years prior. Her final correspondence to Thomas acknowledged his pivotal role in Michael's achievements. You gave him a future when his biological parents thought only of themselves. The trust itself had transformed into a broader foundation supporting medical students dedicated to genetic research. Michael served on its board, though Thomas managed his contributions through Diana to preserve professional boundaries. Diana's children had pursued divergent paths after learning of their father's deceit. The eldest became an ethics attorney specializing in medical malpractice cases, while the younger sibling chose international aid work, consciously distancing herself from family turmoil. Diana's daughter Sarah is currently working with Doctors Without Borders, Rachel informed him. A completely different direction from James's medical practice. Thomas appreciated the irony, reflecting that it was better to help others than to perpetuate falsehoods. Their own lives had settled into a harmonious rhythm. Thomas's work with the Foundation demanded considerable attention, yet he and Rachel maintained clear boundaries between professional obligations and personal life. Their home remained a sanctuary from the complexities of their work. They had mutually decided against having children, a choice informed by their past experiences. Instead, they concentrated on their respective fields, making meaningful differences through methods that aligned with their individual strengths. Rachel's practice helped others heal from betrayal, while Thomas's innovations safeguarded patients from similar deceptions. The Foundation Board sought to expand the medical testing program, aiming to implement it across smaller hospitals to reach more communities. Rachel recognized his motivation, still striving to shield others from the suffering he himself had endured. Someone had to. Michael's research often cited the Walsh Foundation's studies, though he never referred to Thomas by name. In his academic papers, he acknowledged the trust that funded his education, formally naming it the Whitaker Medical Trust. Thomas followed Michael's publications closely, observing how the young doctor's work centered on preventing others from facing delayed treatment caused by concealed medical histories. In his own way, Michael had transformed his painful past into a catalyst for meaningful progress. The medical community had absorbed hard lessons from the scandal. New protocols now mandated more comprehensive documentation of family medical histories, and hospitals had adopted stricter verification processes for genetic data. Thomas's ordeal had revealed systemic weaknesses that others were now actively addressing. Michael's latest paper references your testing protocols, Rachel observed, looking up from a medical journal in the HEK building. He's building on your work, even if he doesn't realize it's yours. Thomas appreciated the symmetry. His quest for revenge had dismantled a web of deceit, yet from its aftermath emerged safeguards against future deception. The Foundation's efforts now helped spare other families the pain he had once suffered. James attempted reconciliation once more, sending a letter after Eleanor's death. Thomas returned it unopened, his stance unchanged. Some betrayals could not be forgiven. only repurposed as cautionary lessons for others. Jessica's life had narrowed considerably. Her co-workers in Idaho knew nothing of her past. Her conversations seldom moved beyond polite trivialities. The woman who once skillfully navigated Pittsburgh's elite social scene now processed insurance claims, her ambitions extinguished by exposure. Through Diana, Thomas learned that Michael had married a fellow researcher, their professional and personal lives now intertwined in shared purpose. Focusing on the early detection of genetic disorders, they had 2 children, both thoroughly tested for inherited conditions. Michael's commitment to medical transparency stood in stark contrast to the deception of his biological parents. The Walsh Research Foundation had become Thomas's legacy. Its innovations saved lives, its protocols protected families, and its research prevented others from suffering delayed treatment due to hidden medical histories. He transformed personal betrayal into systematic protection for others. Rachel's practice had expanded to include other therapists specializing in betrayal trauma. They worked with families affected by medical deception, helping them rebuild trust and establish healthier patterns. Her insights from Thomas's case informed their approach. "Your story helps others heal," she told him. They learned that moving forward does not require forgiveness. Thomas's position on forgiveness remained absolute. He never responded to Jessica's attempts at contact, never acknowledged James's presence at medical conferences, and never engaged with the Cooper family's occasional overtures. His focus remained on preventing future betrayals rather than healing past ones. The Foundation's latest project involved developing AI algorithms to detect inconsistencies in medical histories. Thomas's engineering background, combined with his experience in exposing deception, made him uniquely qualified to identify warning signs. "The system flags patterns similar to what happened with Michael," he explained to the development team. "Unexplained gaps, inconsistent histories, delayed reporting of genetic factors." His reputation in the medical device field had eclipsed his past. Younger colleagues knew him as an innovative engineer and rigid ethicist, not as the man whose revenge exposed systemic weaknesses in medical history reporting. The story had faded from public memory, but its effects rippled through medical protocols and ethics. Following the implementation of the Foundation's verification procedure in hospitals, documented cases of concealed genetic histories saw a significant decline. The marriage of Thomas and Rachel served as a living testament to the principles he had come to understand about trust. Their relationship functioned on a bedrock of complete transparency, with each partner holding a profound respect for the other's boundaries and beliefs. There existed no manipulation, no hidden agendas, and no attempts to alter one another's firmly held positions. 10 years, Rachel reflected during their anniversary dinner. "We built something real from the wreckage." Thomas agreed, adding, "Truth is the foundation instead of lies." Michael's subsequent success served to validate Thomas's unique approach to trust. The provision of financial support, deliberately devoid of emotional entanglement, had afforded Michael the freedom to forge his own path and cultivate his own understanding of his personal history. His professional work now aided others, and through his actions, more powerfully than any words, he acknowledged the profound impact of medical deception. The true legacy of Thomas's revenge was not to be found in the ruin of those who had betrayed him, but rather in the new systems now safeguarding others from similar deceptions. Each newly established protocol, each verification procedure, and every single patient thus protected represented a victory far more significant than any act of personal vengeance. James's persistent attempts to rebuild his life had repeatedly ended in failure. His name had become inextricably linked with medical ethics violations, his case now a standard subject of study in professional responsibility courses. The income from his sales job scarcely covered his financial obligations stemming from the divorce settlement with Diana. Jessica's isolation in Idaho persisted. Her small apartment contained no photographs from her previous existence, no mementos of her time as a social climber in Pittsburgh. Local attempts at friendship invariably withered once people sensed the heavy burden of secrets lurking beneath the surface of her meticulously careful conversations. The Cooper family's decline had finally stabilized, albeit at a considerably lower social tier. They operated their diminished business with quiet discretion, their former prominence having faded into little more than cautionary whispers within business schools. Robert Cooper had retired to Florida, his grand development dreams supplanted by the realities of modest property management. Amanda's advocacy work had continued. Given its purpose, her foundation helped children understand they were not responsible for adult deceptions, while also assisting parents in navigating the complexities of revealed family secrets. Her own healing came through helping others heal. Thomas maintained his distance from all of them. His focus remained on the foundation's work, on developing protections against medical deception, on transforming betrayal into safeguards for others. The epilogue to his revenge played out in medical offices across the country, where new protocols prevented hidden histories from harming patients, in research labs developing faster genetic tests, and in hospitals implementing stricter verification procedures. He destroyed those who betrayed him, but more importantly, he helped build systems to protect others from similar betrayals. The Foundation's work would outlast personal vengeance, creating a legacy of protection rather than destruction. Life had moved forward, shaped by, but not defined by the past. Thomas and Rachel's home remained a space of truth and understanding, while their work helped others navigate the aftermath of betrayal. They built something genuine from the ashes of deception. The final measure of his revenge was not in the destroyed lives of those who betrayed him, but in the protected lives of those who would never experience similar betrayal, thanks to the systems he had helped create. Truth had become his tool for preventing future deceptions, rather than just exposing past ones. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you for your time. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to this channel, click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.